are you, everybody out there? We're doing okay out there. This is Scott Schertzen alongside Ryan O'Regan and, of course, Mr. Davion Boozy. Two Tales from the Film Set and Zingo TV channel 249 and 250. We don't know if I'm having technical issues right now, so we're going to just muscle through the can and do the best that I can to do some version of a dubbed Japanese or Chinese martial arts film. As always, make sure to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android. When you download it and leave a comment, both apps are free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and 2016 and forward. Gentlemen, how are you? And gentlemen, how was I?
Now I got a headache. I think I focused too much. Dave, were you able to follow that? Yeah.
Is it really?
Dave, you're not even speaking, so now I'm worried something happened to you.
No, he's being a pain in the ass. All right.
I'm just being quiet.
There, how's that? We'll just do it that way. Is that better?
No.
Well, I mean, you're repping Spanglish, Lord knows.
Yeah. You gotta represent your face. Your face is your market.
Put up like your headshot or something at least. Something that's like marketing you.
All right. Anyway,
that's not
bad. You guys talk. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna throw my dumb face on there. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Right now, the Bolshevik Revolution. Right now, basically, as far as everything's going on, how are you guys doing? And are you guys ready for She-Hulk episode 3?
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, She-Hulk
I'm ready for
She-Hulk question,
episode 3. I've been sipping on that Green Hulk all day, all night. So, of course, I've been.
Oh, God. How are you going to be once Megan Thee Stallion gets on there?
Who?
You didn't hear?
No.
Megan Thee Stallion is slated to appear on She-Hulk. They're not saying what episode. They're not saying what she's playing, if she's playing a character or just herself. But she will be on the show.
Word came through the grapevine that apparently, yes, she's in the series because reasons.
Yeah, because she's a geek. I can't knock it, you know.
Here's the thing. I mean, as far as like kid friendly goes, Megan Thee Stallion, I think of the song WAP, and it's like that's not exactly kid friendly.
It's not. It never was. Who would think that song is kid friendly?
Yes, but this is Disney we're talking about.
Because she's a marketing product. She's anything that's artist related. She's a product for that industry. The
problem is that.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, it's one thing if it's like something like Fast and the Furious and Nicki Minaj makes an appearance in there. Okay, fine, I get that. But this is Disney, man.
But here's the counter. She is a complete geek. So she has been cosplaying and all this other stuff. And that's just her music. That's not what she does. Well, we all know what she does.
By the way, I just want to point out, I raised
doing some stripper angles on there.
I raised my finger due to counterpoint, but without realizing that you can't see me. I did a 5 facts in one video on Back to the Future that was released last week. Do you know why Disney did not actually want Back to the Future? They felt it was too adult oriented for Disney.
I could see that. I mean,
there
is a slight incest
Back to the Future.
To the story.
No,
so, yeah.
Megan Thee Stallion.
Well, you gotta look at it like what Ryan said: slight incest, kind of crossing the line.
Yeah,
I know.
But it's funny, very openly sexual person, with her vibe and her feel. But then again, a lot of women are nowadays, and I feel like, especially if you're talking about something like She-Hulk, where we're going to see this journey of Jessica pretty much coming into this grander scale of uber feminism than what she was doing back when she was just a lawyer. It kind of makes sense to have some empowering female imagery on there. I mean, have been Lizzo. It could have been anybody that you put up on there. But someone that looks like She-Hulk, Megan Thee Stallion, kind of fits.
Like I said, my point in this case here is that, you know, Disney has markedly changed over the course of the last few years. And
that's why I had to
this
laugh
is something.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I said that's why.
It also helps to say that there is also celebrity going on in this world of the MCU. Think about how many actors have been employed to be a part of the MCU, and yet there is almost like this disconnect where it doesn't really play into reality. We've seen like no celebrity tie-ins practically. So if Megan Thee Stallion is just coming on to be Megan Thee Stallion, good. That adds a little bit more world building rather than us just focusing on the superhero aspects.
Right.
You know, and sometimes, you know, you see universes, they'll add actors to, you know, play up that, hey, there's another world, there's Hollywood around. We've already seen Bollywood in Internals. You can go ahead and expand upon that. So yeah, why not just add a little bit more celebrity without having to make them an MCU character?
Well, see, I think maybe that's part of it now too, where it's so much about your Instagram. Oh, use in this case Instagram following. It's so much about your Instagram following being able to market the brand. I mean, I see casting notices all the time that says, "Please include your Instagram handle and how many followers you have."
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's necessarily about, you know, it's if you TV shows from the 80s and the 90s. I was watching something. It was a Murder, She Wrote that was on the other day, and Ethan Embry was on there. It's like, okay, you know, really young Ethan Embry. You know, that was back in that era. And yes, you know, call me a boomer if you want. I'm not there yet, but it was bringing people in based on, like I said, it wasn't based on their following. There was no Instagram following. There was no social media following. You know, it was just that guy who ended up in that thing, you know, for that episode. Now it's like, you know, you look at an episode of Law and Order. It's like, oh, hey, Brad Garrett's on this episode. Guess who murdered the person? Gee, it's Brad Garrett, you know.
Right, but this is more of like, just to take your, you know, situation there. Tiffany guest starring on an episode of, I don't know, St. Elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you going to have actually Tiffany act, or are you going to have Tiffany play Tiffany and just like meet someone in the hospital?
Like I said, but I guess my point in this whole thing is that it's so much your social media following influences casting so much more than it ever did. And that's where I think I have a little bit of a problem with some of this.
May play part into the whole She-Hulk thing because she's going to be a brand, you know, who better than someone else who properly promotes themselves on social media to
as
just
a brand,
maybe lend a hand.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it just takes some of the humanity away.
Look at it from the other angle of this. This is just, you know, to play it up. If they were casting her as a character in the MCU, who would she be? Because I'm telling you right now, she ain't Storm.
She had to be either one of the villains, like low-key villains.
Yeah, like a lesser Titania, in a sense.
Right.
But I don't know She-Hulk villains like that. Usually She-Hulk ended up taking on like the Wrecking Crew and people that weren't handling the Hulk at that time. But then again, if they're bringing in Daredevil and Frogman and all sorts of other characters, you know, who knows who they could pile up for. Which, if that's the case and they're bringing her in as like a comedic character, just like as a gag, something for the fans, by all means, why not? I mean, it's a throwaway gimmick.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know enough characters to say who she could be.
Yeah, see, that's She-Hulk was. I really didn't know much about She-Hulk in that case, anyway.
No,
because there are other characters but there were other characters that were pretty much like the same level as She-Hulk or a little bit lower tier. So,
well, you know what I've been hearing lately, and this actually makes a lot of sense had things been different. You know who a lot of fans were saying would have been a fantastic She-Hulk? Gina Carano.
Oh yeah,
you know, but based on
I think it would have been one of those things, yeah. Instead of like doing the whole big CGI thing, if she played like the Lou Ferrigno type,
Mhm.
Right.
and just kind of
Yeah.
like, compare her to little Tatiana Maslany. Yeah,
Yeah.
from one to the other, it's like whoosh. But
And I agree, because you know what? That would have made sense, but because of that backlash,
Yep.
hurted her career.
And yeah, apparently she's doing like Fox News movies or something now. Apparently, something along those lines.
oh, good for her. At least she's working.
Yeah, that's what I figured. At least it's paychecks. So
By the way,
speaking
before
of
we get into the
paychecks,
other big topic, just something I saw on Twitter here. It's being reported that one of our more favorite MCU things to come out lately, Moon Knight. While there is still no story about whether or not it is getting a second season, it is being reported that Moon Knight and Layla, the Scarlet Scarab, will be appearing in the new Captain America movie, New World Order.
Interesting.
So that already kind of gives me the idea. What if Captain America New World Order is kind of like setting up an international Avengers?
well, you
Because
don't have.
obviously, Moon Knight, Scarlet Scarab, they definitely have more of a connection to Egypt. We've seen other characters being promoted into the limelight lately. Shang-Chi definitely has his ties to Asia. Sure, if you go ahead and bring in the new Black Panther, whoever it may be, that may be a connection after Wakanda Forever.
Right.
And considering the new Captain America had his uniform made from Wakanda, that's already a direct connection right there. So,
Right.
what if we are seeing the birth of a more internationally scoped superhero team?
Probably would be. I think with the way Disney's going with that for Avengers 4, if you want to call it that, 4, 5, whatever. At this point, I would just say Avengers 4.
Right.
Infinity War
Yeah,
and
until they give
Oh,
us a
great.
working title.
yeah.
Because there's a good promise here that if that is the case, then we may be finally getting some Canadian and British superheroes
Alpha Flight, finally.
that we haven't seen in a while, which may help bring us into Logan, which may help us get a Captain Britain finally. Henry Cavill might finally come over to the MCU if that's the case. So I'm looking forward to that if that's going to be what's happening.
It's certainly
What do you guys
possible.
think?
I mean, listen,
Like, do you want a more worldly, like a Justice League International sort of thing? Or do you think Avengers still should be like more American homegrown, like they have been?
the X-Men is international. What the hell's the difference?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, X-Men's definitely international, but we don't have X-Men yet.
Yeah, but my point is here, I don't really care. As long as it's entertaining. If it gets
Yeah.
preachy, I'm out.
And I'm with Scott.
You give me
Okay.
something, like I said, you give me something that actually, like I said, keeps my attention, is legit escapism, and doesn't sit there and be like, you need to think this way. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm interested. You start getting a little preachy, I'm out.
Though it will be interesting to see
This is why
Sam
I watch
Wilson
things like
dealing with
this is
another
why I watch things like the
hardcore
Bob's Burger
murderer.
movie. What's that?
It would be interesting to see Sam Wilson dealing with another hardcore murderer in Moon Knight.
Mhm.
You need to do better,
That would
Senator.
be interesting.
So
But
I have
anyway,
a story
enough
for you,
Marvel
gentlemen.
news. They'll have
Okay.
enough coming out in D23 when that comes out in a week or so.
So last week, I've been aching to kind of tell the story. Last week, you guys had to do the show without me. Thank you for your service on that part.
You're welcome.
You're
I
welcome.
had a nice little rant about Gary Busey. It all worked out.
I heard, I did see something, hear something about that. I had spent the day on a film set that day. Schedule got a little bit screwed up and everything like that. I'm not announcing. I'm going to basically set this up to be who the person was that was directing it, and stories involved there. But the show, it's one of the well-known, established, now season 5 dramas here in New York, and last day of filming for the episode, last day for this director, and I'm sitting there, I'm standing in, haven't done anything yet, and I'm listening real well, and I hear a very, very deep voice, an unmistakable voice that turns out to be the director. That voice was Mr. Carl Weathers.
Oh my
Nice.
god!
I may as well say this
So-
outright. I guess it's probably okay. Carl Weathers directed the episode of FBI that I was standing in on last week.
Very cool.
Yeah. Carl, I hear the voice and I'm listening to it, and it's like, is that Carl? He had the COVID mask on, so you couldn't necessarily tell by face. But I asked one of the standards, like, yeah, he's been doing the entire episode. He ran these episodes with like 9 to 10 hour days for crew. Where a lot of times film sets and things like that will do 13, 14, 15, 16 hours. I had one earlier this year that was 17 hours. He had these guys out in 10. And on the last day of shooting for the final day, not only did he pay out to actually have a foot-long sub truck give subs of any kind, hot or cold subs, to all the cast and the crew, whoever wanted them, he also rented out an ice cream truck as well. And people basically free of charge, got free subs, got free ice cream, brought it home, whatever they wanted to do. He paid for it out of his own pocket as a way of saying thank you for doing this entire episode all the way through. And at the end of the episode, basically he's like, I've worked with a lot of crews, but far and away, you guys are some of the best crews. The best crews I have ever worked with. It has been my privilege and my honor to basically work with you guys. I'm flattered. And he paid them back. Like, yeah, he gave them an ice cream
Disney
truck.
money is no
He
joke,
gave them a
man.
foot-long sub truck, and he just let crew and cast and whoever just go up and just go to town on this. Now, I'm trying to drop weight right now. I'm working Weight Watchers. So this is like the damn worst thing I could have had. Second is I want ice cream. I'm like, yes, but no. Because they had cookies and cream, and I will basically, for cookies and cream, I will tear out a fingernail for cookies and cream. Yours are anything like that.
That's like a
I have
magic
to,
word.
and they had it, and it was just like, you want it, you want, a gallon of it, go to town, we don't care. Carl Weathers is paying the whole damn thing. And it was really kind of cool. But it was also, like I said, you look at this guy's career, and you're like, damn, dude, he did Rocky almost 50 years ago.
Right.
And you look at him now, and he's still in really, really good shape. He's got, tiny little gut, but the arms are still like the same, like Apollo Creed or like Predator type arms he always had. And you're kind of sitting there in awe of this dude's legacy and the decades of work. It's been 35 years since he did Predator. It's been almost 20 years since he was Tobias Funke's acting coach on Arrested Development. And where he's talking about how to, basically how to like hoard stuff from the craft table. So, and just completely mocking himself. Like, listen, if you go, when I was on this set, I just came in with a backpack. I kept throwing all the craft food stuff into my backpack. I never once touched my per diem. I saved that money. I put it away. He completely mocked himself on Arrested Development. And it's like, dude, that was 20 years ago.
So do you think that's why maybe he did it?
What's that? The directing?
No, the food truck and the ice cream truck. Do you think he's done that because of his character on Arrested Development?
I don't think so. I think that was just him lampooning himself. No, I think it's at the end of the day, he is just a dude who just wants to do these kind of things and was kind of sitting there saying thank you. I'm not going to say anything about the plot, the storyline. I have not mentioned anything and I don't plan to. But
well, yeah, what show is this again?
This was FBI on CBS.
Okay, I didn't even know that show existed, let alone was in its 5th season.
It's in its 5th season now, which blew my mind.
Who's on that show?
Some of the old characters from Law and Order were on there. The guy that Elena de la Garza is on there. The guy that played Cyrus in Law and Order is on there. A couple of new people as well. Really, honestly, it's a really very chill set. It always is. They have very respectable, like 10 to 12 hour crew days anyway. But he went in and he was just a friggin' delight. Very friendly, caring, kind. He took pictures with people. It didn't matter. I was too intimidated. In hindsight, I probably should have done it. But yeah, he didn't care. He was like, yeah, come on in. That's fine. I was in my mind, I was kind of like, I was only here one day, but I will pay $200 to the charity of your choice for a selfie right now. But I never worked up the courage. Never did. Now I regret it. But yeah,
and I know a family member of him.
Really?
A personal family member, yes.
Yeah, but credit to Carl Weathers. He was just, like I said, an unbridled, unmitigated delight.
Now, question. I know you can't tell us much about the episode, but I have to wonder, were they chasing after a hand-eating crocodile?
Okay, I shouldn't say this in this case here. No,
Maybe
but
a
they were
gator.
chasing a ninja that was dressed up in potato salad.
Well, I mean, it could have been worse. Could have been an invisible guy in the jungle
That's true, yeah.
or
Well, here's the
a
thing.
Russian boxer.
Well, I'll say this, like I said, I mean, Dick Wolf series usually are very streamlined, although Dick Wolf is in actually a small bit of trouble because word has come down that Kelly Giddish, who plays Rollins on SVU for a decade plus, has been fired and will be out by episode 9, and a purely budget cut move. So people aren't too happy with Dick Wolf right about now.
Well, I mean, I don't believe anything when it comes to budget cuts. I'm a lifelong wrestling fan. Anytime I hear budget cuts, I know it's BS.
Yeah. Well, in this case, that's what it officially was. I mean, listen, I mean, I knew, Kelly Giddish a bunch of times from a bunch of sets, and she was really chill also, very quiet, but very chill all the way through. And a lot of the fans, I'm part of the SVU subreddit. The fans are living. They are firing off hardcore on like, all cylinders on this one.
Is that the short blonde head?
Yes. And I'm pointing at the camera like you can see.
Yeah,
yes.
It's just funny because I know you're a rather animated person, so do you not have anything there?
Yeah, I know. I promise you I'm going to get to the bottom of this, but I need to find out right now if it's something that's actually happening just for you guys, if it's happening in general for the entire show. I don't know because I heard good things.
Imagine if this was a podcast. This would just be funny because we'd be reacting to the one thing that even the audience couldn't see.
That's true. Well, when I had Film Yap with JT years ago. But yeah, no, in this case, like I said, I got to find out because I had to do the sports end earlier 100% solo. And I heard good things about the show, but I also don't know if the audio was synced up or not. So now I'm like hella curious.
By the way, side note, since you mentioned JT, I went to the movies with JT this past Sunday. We finally saw Dragon Ball's Superhero.
Yes! Yes!
And what is your opinion of that?
It was a goofy movie, man. It's like,
yeah,
it definitely had more charm of like the early Dragon Ball era, which makes sense considering the characters involved.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it definitely wasn't as intense as Broly or Battle of the Gods, which I think is a good thing considering the subject material. I don't think you want to go too serious when it's something as ridiculous as androids and super geniuses and the Red Ribbon Army and all that sort of stuff. But I would definitely say it gives enough narrative that I don't think you necessarily need to know much about the show to see the movie, which I think is always key. People always wonder when it comes to anime and stuff, like, say, Jujutsu Kaisen 0. Is there enough need to see the series beforehand before you see the movie? Mm-hmm. And I would say much in that case. And with this case, no. They give you enough background and enough dialogue that you can follow the film without actually having seen any of the Dragon Ball series in general. There may be one or two things that are maybe a little confusing and you want to ask the friend next to you, hey, so what was that all about? But outside of that, yeah, if you definitely have the chance to go ahead and see it, considering the theaters were in such a slump this past weekend, definitely recommend to go see it. It's enjoyable for the family, it's enjoyable for the hardcore fans, and it's enjoyable for newbies, which I think is most important.
And also, I'm going to basically do a shameless plug in this case here. On Streampunk Cinema, we have the five things that Dragon Ball Superhero finally got right on the channel there. 2,600 views, like 3 subs came out of it, the 5 things
don't forget our watch party, our bad movie beatdown of Dragon Ball Evolution,
which is like 600
for those people that really don't care about the franchise and just want to see us beat up a movie for a while.
Yeah.
Can I just point this out? Dragon Ball Evolution got a little bit of new blood, with Superhero, not just on our channel, but other channels as well. And a lot of people are echoing the sentiment that I think Day you had, that said that it actually wasn't that bad. As its own standalone by itself movie, it wasn't terrible.
Correct.
As a Dragon Ball movie, it sucked.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying too. It was pretty much like it's a what if timeline. Mm-hmm. And I think now when you see the different fractured views of like a particular property, now because of the MCU, there's an appreciation for things that pretty much go beyond the pale. You know, like the way some people would say, one Punisher movie was better than the other one, but none of that matters because there was the TV show. But now
Mhm.
all the Punishers can pretty much be evaluated in their own right, just because now that's a thing. Not everything has to be connected. Now everything has its own particular route that go. And yeah, Dragon Ball especially. I mean, it started off differently. I mean, if the writing was lazy
Yeah.
and the fighting
Mhm.
was almost non-existent,
There are no
and
rules.
and some of the characters were completely unnecessary, i.e., Yamcha, as he is throughout the entire series.
Hey, don't hate on Yamcha. I will defend Yamcha to the grave.
Young Chunk is a censored.
Dude.
No, but
But
here's the thing.
here's the thing. I got to do a
Okay,
Dragon
well,
Ball video.
I don't want to get too much into it because I know we already talked the topics here. But here's the thing about Yamcha. Back when Goku was a kid, hanging around with Krillin and a cat and a pig, and Bulma was younger, yeah, someone like Yamcha who was able to live on their own in the desert was necessary for the story. Not necessary when everyone's in high school or older.
Thank you.
Just
Like
saying.
they could have replaced him with Krillin.
Mm.
I would have
Who would've
preferred
been
it
a
if it was
perfect
Krillin. Just find a short person and make them bald. You could have gotten Hornswoggle from the WWE on that, and it would have been great.
Warwick Davis.
But anyway, speaking of things that were unnecessary to the fandom,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I suppose we should move into. Even though I personally don't mind what I'm going to be seeing, I know you and maybe some other fans out there may have some problems with the Lord of the Rings of Power series that is premiering this week. As a matter of fact, we will be watching it live, quote unquote, Thursday at 9 p.m. when it premieres all around the world.
Yes. We'll catch the first episode for hire for a bit.
But if you look at the trailers, not a lot of people are enjoying it. But
okay,
I
know what?
almost have to wonder,
Let me start with this
is
first.
this truly the sentiment of the fans, or is it simply people that just don't want to see Lord of the Rings stuff in general?
No,
Just
it is
pure haters.
legitimately the
Maybe
viewer.
people that are more Game of Thrones, since that's already been out for a couple of weeks.
No, it's legit. Listen, I haven't waffled on this much, but I'm going to go straight on this. It is the view of the fans themselves, because you have to look at this. Remember, I was part of the Lord of the Rings fan club 20 years ago. My first ever movie credit was the extended cut of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Lord of the Holy Grail of fantasy novels. It is the penultimate. It is the basis for so much writing that has gone forward. It created so many characters that never existed before. Mainstreamed elves, orcs became a thing. Mithril. There's so much that he gave with these stories that he told his kids before they went to bed at night, that it became the literal, like I said, holy grail of all fantasy. So when Peter Jackson came out with his Lord of the Rings, which, by the way, I'm going to read this quote. I don't know if you can read it. Peter Jackson's quote: "We made a promise to ourselves at the beginning of the process that we weren't going to put any of our own politics, our own messages, or our own themes into these movies. In a way, we were trying to make these films for Tolkien, not for ourselves." Quote from Peter Jackson, December 2002. Amazon exec producer Lindsay Weber: "It felt only natural to us that an adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like." That is why you get that. Because you're not getting what Tolkien wanted. You're getting what Amazon wanted. And in this case here, Peter Jackson, his wife was a huge Lord of the Rings fan herself, was also co-producer and writer of the Lord of the Rings movies. So they worked so tightly in tandem, and they consulted with Christopher Lee, who wrote these books every single year as a habit, met J.R.R. Tolkien, talked to him, conversed with him. He pulled Christopher Lee in, who played Saruman, to say, what do we do here? What do you think? They consulted with that. Amazon has never once consulted with Peter Jackson at all. And Jackson's gone on record to say they never talked to me. Now the Lord of the Rings trilogy was nominated, the trilogy across the board was nominated for 30 Oscars and won 17 Oscars. And to take it one step further, I'm going to say one final thing here, and I'm going to open this up. Amazon's Rings of Power is a $715 million budget. The entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, all three of the movies combined, was $281. You guys go.
Day, I'll let you go first if you want.
I have nothing to say. After he just said that, I really had nothing to say. Scott.
At the end of the day, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, Scott, like, you basically kind of just destroyed me by saying, like, you made me interested in watching the film now. Because I was never a Lord of the Rings fan.
And that's the
I had
difference.
friends that,
You know, the numbers that you see on that screen right there, which I'm not sure if you can, 130,000 likes, 1.9 million dislikes, 84 to 421, 78 to 498, 38 to 402. I pulled these numbers down specifically about 5:15 this afternoon. So about an hour, a little over an hour and a half before the show started. I physically pulled down these from 4 different trailers that are on YouTube. So these are very up-to-date numbers here. This is what the fandom is saying. And some of the comments that are in there are hilarious because what's happening is they're rewriting and recreating the storyline, adding new characters that were never there, changing storylines, doing things around that. And the biggest comments that are on there is that my favorite thing from the trailer was when Galadriel hurled off their magic sword and said, by the power of Grayskull.
Right. I've seen the comments on the trailers.
Yeah, and it's like, basically, when the Harfoot said to Neo, "Welcome to the Matrix," because they're deviating from the original lore and creating their own thing. And Peter Jackson worked so hard to stay within. There were some complaints. They got rid of Tom Bombadil. They changed the fate of Saruman. I get that. There were some complaints there. But in the grand scheme of things, they walked away with something that even the fan base themselves was proud of. Now, Christopher Tolkien wasn't even a fan of that either because he wanted nothing to change at all. And when Chris Tolkien died, Amazon bought the rights.
oh, wow.
But
So the lawyers went through with a fine. The lawyers went through with a fine-tooth comb on what they could legally do and what they could legally not do. That's why there's no Harfoot. There's no Hobbits in this one, but there's Harfoots.
But is it not
Because
true?
you couldn't use Hobbits.
Jeez. Scott.
Yo.
Is it not true that as far as anything prior to the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit books themselves, there is very little lore?
Well, they were written for they were originally stories that he told his kids before bed.
Right, but what I'm saying is you can't necessarily be upset about them building a universe and building off of anything prior to the books when there isn't already that much to work with, and everything that they're making is pretty much, if not original, then certainly the best possible adaptation based upon what the books offer.
Best possible, yes, but there's certain times that you have, shall we say, sacred cows that should not be slaughtered. To the fan base of Lord of the Rings, who have basically bought this book for decades, translated into dozens of different languages, this is a sacred cow. You chose to slaughter the sacred cow for the benefit of your own series. And that's where the fans have a problem. You couldn't leave well enough alone, and that's where their complaint is.
I'm sorry, I just can't see the idea of being upset. I mean,
well, I would say this from a person that's never seen Lord of the Rings due to his own biases. I say, for me, I will give Lord of the Rings a chance because of the fact that I was being very ignorant by it because it's not my cup of tea. I've seen films that I thought was not my cup of tea, and I wind up liking it. You know, like Game of Thrones, I may have to watch. Wasn't my cup of tea, but guess what? I'm going to have to watch in order to understand the whole new one.
But here's the thing. George R.R. Martin wrote, and he was still continuing to write, everything with Game of Thrones. Tolkien Tolkien died decades ago. You know, a lot of his works were unfinished. So a lot of the fans were like, okay, this is all that we have. And it became its own mythos just in what was there.
Right.
And I think, and like I said, the problem is the fans have an issue with the fact that you, again, could not leave well enough alone. You know, this is the third adaptation, if you will, because, well, 3.5, if you will, because, I mean, it was originally the Rankin Bass stuff, which was The Hobbit and Return of the King. I remember those. I can sing the songs. You know, then, of course, you had the Ralph Bakshi one from, I believe, 1978, where they introduced rotoscoping. And, you know, those flew off the radar. There was even an Atari game, one remembers, too. But Peter Jackson's stuff made it mainstream for the first time and brought it to life in a way that nothing had ever done. Like I said, that trilogy won 17 Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
It was nominated pictures, you know, and won one, lost the other one. So there was so
and even
much.
then, the fans still pick it apart. I mean, the hardcore fans are probably people that are never going to be satisfied, because any adaptation of any of the works, whether they went ahead and remade The Hobbit for the 4th or 5th time, or what they're doing now with the Amazon Prime show and actually giving more of the backstory and the lore that leads up to the popularized stories, it's never going to fit the narrative that the hardcore fans have gone ahead and put into their minds or onto the servers that they have developed themselves. It's the same issue with Star Wars.
And in a lot of ways, too, yes. Because in this case here, I mean, here's the big difference, I think. Lucas sold the rights to Disney. Tolkien had no say in the matter.
Oh.
And his son, who was the keeper of the estate, when he died, Amazon bought the rights. They waited him out. And that's where the issue is. Lucas sold his voluntarily and donated the money to charity. The Tolkien family had very little control on this one. And I think a lot of the fans are pissed off about that too.
Well, then they should pool up their own money and they should have bought it. You know, nothing stays an island unto itself forever, especially when it comes.
And do you think anybody can compete with Amazon? The $750 million is 0.15% of the revenue.
Look, it becomes more of the question of like, okay, fine, no one touches Lord of the Rings stuff. You focus on the 3 Hobbit movies, you focus on the 3 Lord of the Rings movies, and that's it.
Peter Jackson didn't want to do the Hobbit movies. He hated doing them.
Nothing else will get made because no one else is ponying up the money to do anything about it. So either you get nothing new and you just still stay with these movies forever and ever and ever, or someone buys it, someone who wants to invest into the lucrative brand that it is, and you get more, good or bad, and hopefully something better comes out of it. Now, from what I've heard from the reviews of like the first couple of episodes, people are saying it looks fantastic. The large scope, the acting, the whole overall high fantasy appeal of it. No one's saying anything bad about it of the people that have actually seen it.
You mean the ones that got the advanced screeners that were personally invited in by Amazon? Those people?
Oh my God. Oh, now we're getting into like conspiracy theories. Oh.
I love this.
And is it possible that it is just good? And even if it's not the kind of good that a hardcore fan would want?
It's entirely possible it might be good. But here's the thing. They have done themselves no favors. You know, they have done themselves no favors in this particular case because they're trashing the fan base. You don't trash your customer base. And Amazon did that.
I don't know if they necessarily did. I don't know if they're not saying anything against the fan base, but they're certainly got enough support in what they're making right now. It's not like a Netflix thing where it's like, screw the fans and we'll go ahead and make Cowboy Bebop the way we want to.
And the thing about that film, I mean that series, it wasn't that bad.
No, and certainly they took some artistic licenses and tried to modernize a few things in order to make it a little bit more appealing to this generation, but there was still a core there. This, I can't imagine that they're going to go ahead and like try to, influence anything political or anything like that, because it's all just supposed to be lead up and taking us where we're supposed to go, where the movies went.
Well, see, part of the fans also are pissed off about the fact it directly contradicts some of the other stuff that they read as well. Some directly contradicts some of the stuff from the. So fans are pissed off about that too.
Well, the same fans probably are just as upset about what was it, House of Dragons, changing some of the Game of Thrones lore from the series with the first episode.
I can't speak for that. I have no knowledge in that.
No one's going to have that MCU style like consistency. Heck, even the MCU messes up and stuff like that sometimes.
Right.
It can't be perfect all the time. You know, people need to just lower their expectations as far as, getting into the minds of every single fan and knowing exactly what every single fan wants.
I will not lower my expectations.
That's fine. Then you put up the money and you make your own fan film.
I will.
All right. Can't wait to see you with the pointy ears.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, that was hardcore.
Well, speaking of hardcore, there is one more thing that we wanted to touch on. And
right.
I think Davion wanted to go ahead and go forward on this one, didn't you?
I think, I think in this case, we're gonna let go of that topic.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. In general, I don't know if you guys have any specific opinions on it. I did not see the VMAs.
I didn't either. I heard good things, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys Davion. I'm not sure if you actually saw the VMAs or not.
Although,
I mean,
they did turn me around on an idea because obviously when
I did want to bring up something
about the VMAs at first, I was like, why would we talk about music videos? Because we don't really talk about music in general on this show. But then it kind of dawned on me, the way he was saying how like music videos nowadays are pretty much, short form film work in themselves. I went ahead, I did the research, and yeah, there's a lot of good directors, great directors, iconic directors who have done work in music video before they got feature film. It's almost like
a lot of them did.
Independent filmmakers when they go ahead and they make a short film before they make a full feature. And it's surprising how many people you can look back on and see like, okay, this is where they cut their teeth. Or this was where they had like an experimental session before they went ahead and made something else. So I think there is something to be said for like the filmmaking art of music video, even though unfortunately at the VMAs it's the musical artist that gets the award, not the director, not the people that put the video together, just the star of it.
Well, that's usually how it is. I mean, even with the Oscars and whatnot, the production crew, the grip, the set designers, they don't get the credit. The actor, actor is, and the director are the ones that basically, I don't entirely have an entirely bad thing about that necessarily, because if the film bombs and they criticize it, the critique is unjustly placed upon the actor or actress, but the success is as well. So you look at, like, say, the Star Wars prequels. Hayden Christensen did what he could with what was given to him. The editor and the director, and the director, George Lucas, made it what it was, where it's like, I don't like sand. He's a good actor, but he takes the brunt of it because of the editing decisions on the other side. Now, conversely, if you have a good editor and you are a terrible actor, you can be made to look really, really good with good editing and good sound. And you'll be amazing. There is an actor in Hollywood, I will not mention the name, but they will fail on a take 10 to 11 times in a row. But when they nail it so you're like, this was amazing. And it blew my mind when I saw it the first time, because it was take after take failure over and over and over and over again, just on a teleprompter. But when they nailed it, holy crap on a stick.
Mark Wahlberg.
No. It blew my mind. Don't say it out loud. But yeah. But yes, failure a dozen times in a row, perfection on the 13th.
I'm trying to think who it is.
I put it in the chat.
Hold on. I zoom up my thing, so it's like I'm
not going to tell you who it is, but at least I'm going to tell you who it is. You know what I mean? But but
I see things. I see things.
See no evil, speak no evil, speak no evil.
And I've heard this from other sources as well, because there's been other projects that they've been in where the same issue arose, and then suddenly they get, like I said, that one take, and you're like, oh my God, this was glorious. Definitely wasn't me. I got no talent. My wife was like, one time was like, come on, you can do this. You're an actor. I'm like, yeah, I'm a terrible actor.
Stop it, Scott. Stop it.
No, but be honest. You can say you're a terrible actor and you can still be like marketable.
Right.
That's
why I don't agree with people saying that they're terrible actors, because nobody's a terrible actor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that people have their own personal preference when it comes to performing.
What?
So let's say,
good. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like for me, people thought, oh, you can only portray like maybe a computer whiz or a heavyset guy that's like a nerd or a geek. But more and more, you have people that could see me as an action star.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
More, or that supportive role for the main character, or maybe the main character themselves. So never knock yourself or tell yourself other than, oh, I don't know, I'm not talented. You are. It's just that you got to find the right niche or the right character.
Yeah. Here's my problem. My memory sucks. So my short-term memory has always been a challenge that way. Interestingly enough, I found this out recently. Do you know, obviously the show and the character Frasier, Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer apparently really agitated his co-stars because he would never really rehearse until basically they were ready to roll. So he would just basically look over the script, go right in the moment. But his co-stars never really got the chance to really rehearse or get solid with it because he was so in the moment, in the flow of it, that it took adjustments for, Perry Gilpin and David Hyde Pierce, John Mahoney, Jane Leaves, and the rest of them to be able to adjust to that kind of a style of acting. Because he was like in the moment. He didn't want to rehearse. He just wanted to go and just feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah, that was filmed before a live studio audience.
Mm-hmm. And not in Nickelodeon.
No, it was not.
But no, the thing I'm saying is, how many professions can you say that you're a terrible version of that profession and still get work?
Yeah.
Right. With acting, you have the liberty to call yourself terrible if you feel like, you don't do good enough work, or if the critics bog on you. But you can still get work. It's just a matter of like what the genre or what the format you can go into or you're available for. If I said that I was a terrible bartender, do you think I'd get hired anywhere? No. People would think I would be killing people. If I said I was a terrible mailman and everyone's mail just ended up going to the wrong houses, you think I'd get work? No.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe there's something in the artiste aspect that allows a little bit of eccentricity. There we go.
Yeah.
You can't, basically you as a plumber, you can't necessarily be eccentric. When I was a financial advisor to the middle and lower class, I could never be eccentric. So.
Oh yeah, no. Any job where you have to handle money, you can't say I'm a terrible cashier. That's how you get fired.
Yeah. Well, see, my problem is my natural quirk would struggle when trying to explain someone's 401k. It's like, all right, but here's the deal. Basically, your 401k is made up of largely large cap stocks, which are companies basically with over $4 billion of assets. Your McDonald's, your Microsoft, Bubble, these kind of companies. And I would, that never really worked. And I got in trouble for stuff like that as an advisor because that's my natural personality, but it doesn't really work well when you deal with Roth IRAs.
Your natural personality is coffee talk?
My natural personality is eccentric and bizarre.
Okay, but the Bubala thing.
Yeah, the Bubala. It's part. It's the Jewish side of me. Yeah,
I get it. You have a Klimt.
You have a mensch, but don't be a putz.
Oh wow!
I'm kidding, dude. But can I say for the record,
we can do that day because we're white. It's all right.
Yeah, exactly. Can I say for the record though, I really hate that Lending Tree commercial with Molly Shannon. I like Molly Shannon, but it's the Lendo with the Splenda. I don't know if you saw this commercial or not.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's kind of like basically like getting an ice pick in the ear after the 87th time of hearing it. because it's Molly Shannon and this other person. They're just sitting there talking like this the whole time. And it's really kind of funny at first. But I'm sure right now, as you're hearing me talk, you're like, okay, I'm a little bored with this voice at this point. Imagine when you hear that commercial for the 87th time.
I'm just imagining Day's head, and it's like, I have no place in this.
Exactly.
He's like, white people be weird. He's like, I'm so glad I'm not white.
No, I never said. Well, no, no.
Choose the words carefully.
No,
Gentlemen, we got about
always-
4 minutes left. Is any final thoughts for you?
final thoughts. I say I'm going to watch Lord of the Rings, the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. That's
you
a
know
heavy
what?
task, my friend.
I know. I got to find a day to dedicate to watch Lord of the Rings, and also find a day to dedicate to watch Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
I talk trash, but you know what? I have to give stuff like this a shot, because guess what? If I don't, then what can I say to other people or other fans that I didn't like it? Because I only watched one episode of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
More
I
than
did-
I've seen Game of Thrones.
But I didn't like the incest aspect.
There was a fair amount of interpersonal relations.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I understand, never watching the show myself, the sex in there is questionable at best.
Prevalent, to say the least.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously there's other aspects to it. There's the political intrigue, there's the violence, there's the
Wait a minute.
dragons. You know, it's,
Guys, aren't we talking about the real world?
In some ways.
dragons.
Yeah. Well, dragons could be the lawyers.
Yeah, but see, with the dragon, Rock the Dragon.
Okay, enough with saying dragon.
Dragon.
To take a line from Animaniacs. Will you stop saying dragon?
Oh, okay.
Nice reference. I was doing the American Dragon Ball Z intro. So,
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But anyway,
All right,
we'll
gentlemen.
worry about anything high fantasy on Thursday night.
Mhm.
I think we'll probably go live around 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to go ahead and watch the premiere of The Rings of Power with us, that is where you'll be able to do so. Of course, that Thursday at 5 p.m., we are also doing She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Not a Dragon, episode 3. So if you can't make one, do try to make the other. If you make both, hey, we're happy to have you. We'll send you tickets to the show.
exactly.
But outside of that, anything else you want to add or promote?
I'm good on my side. Like I said, I'm working on Lord of the Rings 10 facts in 2 minutes. The video I just put up yesterday for Commando, which is starting to take off, which is really nice. 5 facts in 1 minute about the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, if you will. Hilarious.
It is not a tumor.
Not a tomb. I have not done Kindergarten Cop yet.
What? Really?
No, I've done like 20 movies so far. I've still got like 1,000 movies to go.
Good
But we
Lord.
did pick up 3 new subs on the Commando video today. So
I mean, the only other thing I can promote is the episode I did last week outside of anything that we did here when I was a part of Amru Moses' One Gotta Stay.
Mhm.
And if you want my take on Marty McFly and how he is one of the worst protagonists ever in an action or sci-fi film, definitely go ahead and check that out.
I'm intrigued.
Wait a
on that.
minute. Wait a minute. If you're talking about Marty McFly, then we got to talk about Morty from Rick and Morty.
Morty's different. Marty's innocent that way. Or, portrayed a different way.
Morty is smarter. Morty owns up to his own stuff.
Actually, you're talking Rick, really, though, right? Well, no, I'm sorry. No, you're right. So, yeah, Morty.
But yes,
I don't know.
it's an
Morty's
interesting
got
range.
a little bit of dark side in him too, especially the Council of Mortys. Anyway, season 6 of that's around the corner, but we got to wrap it up now. Thanks as always to Ryan, Mr. Davion Boosie. Hopefully, my camera's better and I'm not out of sync as much, and I'm a little more.
Oh yeah, no, you're actually good
You're
now.
good now.
Why not? Sure, that's the show. Have a good night. Stay awesome, guys.
Night.